So it's hard to believe that nearly 30 years ago, the clay bar was created. Now I'm going to tell you a fun little story on how I understand that clay hit America and therefore hit really rest of the car world across the globe. So back in the early 90s, Clay Magic, which wasn't even Clay Magic at that time, they went over, they were showing their wares in Japan, and there was a detailing competition. And as the story goes that I was told, was during that competition, one vehicle looked a lot smoother and felt a lot smoother and had a better glow to it than all the other vehicles. And that vehicle had been clayed. And thus, something brand new was invented. Now, since that time, clay's come a long ways. We've got clay that still, we're going to go into it today, is still very viable with car people, car owners, and professional detailers and pro amateurs all over the globe. But new technologies such as the reset towel have come into play. And in this video today, we're going to talk about all of that. Now, before I start on that, let's tell you a little funny story about clay. Now, when I came across clay, it was probably in the mid to early 90s. And I was at a car wash show. Was not at anything detailing related. Matter of fact, other than Mobile Tech, and Mobile Tech was really small back in the day. But in those early, the mid 90s, really the only thing that us as detailers, our serious enthusiasts, had was really the car wash shows. And so I'm going through the aisles, and this gentleman comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, have you tried the new clay bars yet?" And I was like, the clay what? And he goes, "Yeah, clay bars." So he unwraps one of these things and he puts it in my hand, and it's, to me, because I wasn't even a father yet, but I remembered my childhood, it was a can of Play-Doh. And so I sat there and I listened to him, and it made a little bit of sense, but it really didn't. And I thought, at this time, I think a clay bar was something hovering around close to 30 bucks. And I went, I was born at night, but not last night. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that did this, but I went home. I decided to go get some Play-Doh and try it. And well, history tells us it's not the same. It is not the same makeup. It is completely different. And I'm embarrassed to say that I did try Play-Doh and a couple different clays, and it failed miserably. So here I was, going back to clay bars. Now, the technology's changed a lot. Let's share that technology with you today, and it's how it's kind of evolved over the last 30 years. All right, so a lot of people ask me, what do I use as a clay lube? And there's just about as many clay lube products out there as there are clay surfaces now. So I'm gonna share with you kind of my favorites and the benefits and key features of each one of those and some of the drawbacks. So let's start with, I already shared Pearl soap, 1 ounce in a bottle. It's one of my favorites. It's very thrifty to use. It doesn't cost a lot. It leaves the surface nice and clean, but there's no slickness left, where if you're gonna tape off and put it on trim, you don't create a problem with the tape later on. So there's my favorite. I love going to it. We probably use it the most. Now, second from that, I'm gonna kind of come down this line a little bit, is the paint prep. Now, I love to give credit where credit's due. All my years of traveling around with Sonex back in the day, I traveled all over America, all over Europe, into Asia. And Demi, one of their trainers, Demi, thank you so much for this secret that you taught all of us back in the day, was they love to use their best glass cleaner as a clay lube. And so I got hooked. So guess what? When we developed paint prep, we found out A, it's a great glass cleaner besides being a paint prep for coatings, and B, it's a great clay lube. And so we started using that when we want the ultimate. We want it to be the best of the best. And the nice thing is, again, just like Pearl, it doesn't put a slickness to the surface. So if you're taping off for paint correction, you can tape off. There's not going to be any problems. Now we'll come back up to paint gloss. Paint gloss is a crowd favorite. People love to do it. And if you're not going to tape off, guess what? It's still one of my favorites because it puts a nice shine to it. It's got a nice lube to it, and it does a great job as a clay lube. Now we're going to come into bead maker. Where does bead maker play into this? Is if you're going to do what we call a wash, a clay, and a protect, is what you can do is use bead maker as your clay lube when you use full panel strokes. We're going to explain that here in a second. And it lays down great protection, and it looks great, and you've got all that done in one stroke. So you go out, you wash the car, you take and spray down the surface, 1 panel at a time with bead maker, spray a little bit on your applicator, and go to work. You're going to take and clay that full panel wipes. We're going to show you that. It's a great way, and a lot of people, you'll see yourself, whether you do it yourself or a pro, they just want to take and get their paint nice and clean, smooth, and protected, that's the way to go. Now, down to the end is we've got Iron Buster. Now in extreme cases when you got a lot of fallout on a vehicle, been a long time, the car's been neglected, it had some weird fallout on it, is you can use Iron Buster with whatever clay you're gonna use, but user beware. You wanna make sure on any of these that you've got protection on, but especially with Iron Busters, it's got a certain scent. Any type of contaminant removal does, but you also wanna take and put some breathing protection on, and user beware, you're gonna wear down the clay a little faster with that. But in extreme cases, I absolutely love it. So let's go through and show you some quick techniques of what a scrub technique is and then a full panel application is on this, so stand by. All right, so let's talk about technique. Now for this technique, I'm gonna go ahead and take and use the reset towel. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take bead maker, because this is already protected, so it's already got a coating on it, it's got sole coating on it. So when I'm doing this, I'm gonna show you what's called a full panel wipe. This is a big bed, it's a short bed, but I'm gonna show you how to take and create less marring than you've ever done before, reduce the chances of marring. Then I'm gonna show you with another clay element how to take and do short scrubs to get the most effectiveness to get contaminants out of the paint. So right now, I've already sprayed my towel down. So what I'm gonna do, because this is so big, is I'm actually gonna divide this. If this was a short door, I would just jump on the door and do it. And actually we'll have Diane follow me over, we'll do that. So right now, I'm gonna put it on pretty heavy. So I'm putting it on bead maker pretty heavy. I've got my towel already sprayed. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come through, let that set for just a second. I'm gonna take and fold over, quarter my towel. So, okay, there we go. So there it is. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stand in the middle and I'm gonna come full panel. And I'm gonna overlapping 50%, okay? And I'm gonna drop down and I'm taking, and I just hit that gas cap a little bit. So I'm gonna take that opportunity to take and spray just a little more on here. And you can see I'm not spider fingering it. So I've got my whole palm, I'm using my whole palm. This is all nice and clean. And then what I'm gonna do is I really wanna make sure it's nice and lubed up. And you don't wanna do this in direct sun. I'm actually gonna come back up. And again, what this does is it reduces the marring. So for this back section, I'll show you that. Then all I'm gonna do is take my towel, dry that off. Now it's clayed and protected, and man, it is smooth. It is totally smooth. So now I'll finish this off the right way, is again, coming through, I'm gonna go ahead and take advantage of this. This is a little smaller panel, and I'm gonna flip my towel over again, okay? And we'll show you how to clean these things. And again, I'm gonna overlap into the last area. I'm going 50% down at a time, okay? So overlapping everything. And then, so I don't stop, I'm gonna come back up and hit that again. So those are called a full panel wipe. I'll show you on the door right now. Okay, so you saw on the big back panel with the bed how I did it. So now I'm gonna show you on the door again. I flipped my towel over already. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do the glass. I already did it. So this is just to show you the full panel. So I'm gonna come down, I've got it nice and wet. You don't wanna take and have it too dry. And then what I'm gonna do is full panels. The reason why I'm doing this is this will reduce the amount of marring. When you have a scrub technique, I'm gonna show you in a second, you take a chance of marring out, especially on sensitive paints. On this, what you do is it spreads that out and you get a lot less marring on that. So I'm gonna take, again, keep it nice and wet. This is full panel. So I already did around the handle. I'm gonna go right over the top of it. So you can see I'm covering full panel. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm coming back up. I'm just wetting it again with a little bead maker to keep it nice and slick, and I'm gonna finish that out just like that. So check that out. All right, so we taught you just a second ago about the full panel wipe down. Now what I wanna do is I'm gonna take and share with you kind of the tight scrub. It's called the scrub technique. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna utilize all these different clay elements. We're gonna also show you direction of airflow. This paint wasn't painted this way. It wasn't painted up down, it was painted tip to tail. You wanna find that grain and stick with that grain. So the first thing I'm gonna do is now I've switched over and I'm gonna show you, again, short, this is gonna go back over to pearl. So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna make sure that my element's all cleaned up. I already pre-sprayed it once before I did it again. And what I'm gonna do here is, again, put my hand in here, you can put it in, and I'm gonna short scrub, okay? This is called a short scrub. Now also the thing you can do is you can start this way, and if it's really contaminated, you do what's called a crosshatch scrub. So I'm gonna short scrub it this way, then I'm gonna come back up and down, short scrub it this way. Then I'm gonna take and come back again, short scrub it this way, and I've got the worst of the contaminants out. All right, so the last thing is how do you keep all these different elements clean? Now, naturally, the clay bar is that you're gonna inspect it. Once it gets really contaminated, you're gonna toss it out. For the rest of all these, it doesn't matter if it's a towel, if it's a disc, it's a sponge, it's a mitt, anything else, is you're gonna take, and I keep a clean bucket of water, just plain cold water. You don't wanna use warm or hot because it will soften the surface up too much. And all I'm gonna do is dunk it in here. You can also use it in the sink and just run cool water over it. In the event that you drop one of these, what I strongly recommend is that you go rinse it underneath and flush it with moving water. Then you come up to the bucket and you kind of clean it up. Now, most importantly is you'll ruin these things if you squeeze them or wring them. You don't want to wring them out. So all I do is I'm going to do this above the bucket. Usually I'm down in there. I just don't want to make a mess. But all I'm going to do is gently squeeze it and squeeze all the extra water and lube out. And I'm going to tell you, if you watch your bucket carefully, especially if you're working with a car that's really contaminated up, you're going to see perfectly clean water come out really dingy. And it's proof that you're doing your work. Hey, thanks for coming into our shop. I just love sharing these videos with you. You know, we love to bring you into our studio where we work. For those that don't know, this is actually my home sitting right over there. So this is our studio. This is where all the testing, and this is where we really build some serious detailers. But we don't care if you're a professional, if you're a pro amateur, you like to do this for fun. We'd love to have you respond below. Make sure to crush that like button. And again, if you've got a video topic that you want to hear about, I would love to make a video for you. So send me an email. It's directly at my email address. I'm going to get it, and I will be the one that responds. It's Renny, R-E-N-N-Y, at detailingsuccess.com. We'd love to take and hear what you want to learn. So take care, everybody. Happy detailing, and we'll see you next time.